YouTube, welcome back with another Genshin Impact video. In today's video, we're going to talk about the new Spiral Abyss that just reset. This Spiral Abyss is made for Mizuki. You get some scroll damage bonus, you get some healing, some damage when you heal your team, etc. So we're going to go over what teams are good for this Abyss, some gameplay tips. I think this Abyss overall is much easier than the previous one, the one before, maybe one of the easiest we had in a very long time. Honestly, there's very few restrictions in terms of teams, in terms of elements, gameplay, etc. And overall, the DPS check is not too high, and yeah, there's not really annoying mechanics or anything. So overall, I think it's one of the easiest Abyss we had in a while. You'll be able to play almost anything, and yeah, let's get into it. So first, the blessing of the Spiral Abyss. So every 3 seconds when you heal a character, you will unleash a shockwave that deals true damage to the enemies. It's nice. I don't remember exactly how much it deals. Yeah, it deals around 14k damage, as you can see on the enemies here. So it's not an insane amount of damage, but it's not negligible. It can help a little bit. It's some nice extra damage. So nothing crazy, but it's nice. Now, for floor 11, it's going to be very straightforward. Once again, if you have Venti, Kazuha, Sucrose, they're going to be very nice. The first half of Chamber 1 is going to be a lot of enemies, lots of healers, lots of slimes, etc. So if you get some grouping, it's not going to be too difficult, even if you don't have the grouping, to be honest. Like, they really don't spawn very fast. They're pretty fast to kill. And then on the second half, it's just going to be one enemy, one by one. So 3 enemies total, one by one. So it's going to be very simple. I'm not going to give you too many gameplay tips on this because literally anything works. And as I said in my previous guides, in floor 11, you just need to level up your talents, level up your weapons, give some whatever artifacts. The DPS check is really not that high. You don't need crazy damage. And yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You get a 200 EM increase. So if you got some anemo characters, if you got some reactions, stuff like that going on, it can help a little bit. But yeah, the enemies don't have crazy HP. I would say the hardest part is maybe 11-3, where they have like Pyro, Cryo, Electro Shield, and stuff like that. So it might be a bit difficult, and there's a decent amount of enemies, but it's really not that complicated. And the Consecrated Beasts as well. But it is still one by one on second half. I think first half of 11-3, you get it's 3 by 3, but every time you kill one, there's another one respawning. And then on the second half is going to be the Lava Troll first, then the Hydro Beast, and then the Scorpion. So it is one by one. It's not too complicated, and it's pretty straightforward. Now, for floor 12. As I said earlier, I think it's the easiest Abyss in a long time. I think they made it easier because Mizuki is not a crazy character. They give you 600% swirl damage, but even with that, she doesn't necessarily feel like super good. She's nice. Like, you swell pretty well, especially, I mean, for the first half. But you still kind of need some grouping a little bit for 12-2 first half. And for 12-1 first half, the grouping can be also nice because the enemies move quite a bit. But yeah, they lowered the HP overall, I feel like. And they made it a bit easier, like with lots of small enemies. I think the overall HP increased, like the total pool of HP increased, but the like per enemies, it's much lower than the usual. So if you have some AoE, it's gonna be much easier. And yeah, it's made for Mizuki, and since she doesn't have like crazy damage, it feels much easier than your average Abyss. The only really difficult thing in this Abyss is gonna be 12-3. Basically, it's a little bit difficult to group the 12-3 first half, and also you need Cryo on 12-3 second half, so that's just really something to keep in mind. But yeah, Chamber 1, Chamber 2, honestly, nothing crazy. I will show you real quick some gameplay for each chamber, but it's gonna be very fast. I'm gonna take a bit more time on 12-3, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. You can clear it very easily with 4 stars only. Preferably, best team options are going to be Taser first with like Sucrose, double Electro, Hydro. And then second half, like a combo of Reverse Melt with like Rosaria, Bennett, Shangling. And then you can add Kaya or Hongyun or something like that. But yeah, it's not going to be too difficult. As you can see, on 12-1 first half, the enemies, they spawn together. So you just do your thing. They're not going to move too much, honestly. Like, you can stay next to them. Sucrose should be enough to group all the enemies, and then with the Electro Charge, it goes very fast, honestly. The Electro Charge goes pretty fast, so Here we go, and then you just repeat your rotation, and then that's basically it. That's basically it. Just repeat your rotation every time. But yeah, in about 1 minute 15, we cleared this like pretty easily. I played kind of bad, but it was still pretty chill. So just repeat your rotation after every wave. Now on 12-1 second half, it's gonna be 1 rune guard, 1 rune grader, 1 by 1 every time. With 5 enemies in total. So if you have long cooldown, I would recommend using a team that has like a low cooldown so you can repeat your rotation, or Hyper Bloom works also pretty good here. But yeah, you want something that you can like have consistent DPS basically. You don't want something with like really long rotation, really long cooldowns. Like for example, if you bring Sino here, you won't be able to refresh. You won't be able to refresh like Nagita or something like that. So oh my god, I'm playing really bad though. And also, you want to make sure your energy is on point. Because if your energy is not on point, you will not be able to repeat your rotations every time. So, alright, good. So, pretty nice. Oh, sorry, Rosaria is on Skyward Spine, actually. Oh, yeah, it's standard weapons. Now, for 12-2 first half. There's gonna be a lot of Hilichurls in this chamber. They're gonna spawn when you kill one, the new one spawns basically. It's not really too complicated. If you have some AoE, you just do your stuff. And then yeah, those 2 Hydro Hilichurl, they're gonna spawn as well on the side of the map. Oron is nice for the taunt, by the way. It's pretty nice, but otherwise you can use Beto as well if you want to do that team specifically. And then yeah, here we go. Damn. This is not good for grouping, huh? So after all these years. And then that was an okay rotation, honestly. That wasn't too bad. 1 minute, almost done. You do want to make sure you do some normal attack with Sucrose if you're using Sucrose Taser. And second, because you keep proccing the swell and the 4-piece Viridescent. And the electrocharge. Second half, it's the plunge boss where you have free plunge, like all your characters can plunge basically, so you can start using your setup at the start of the fight, and then use the plunge mainly to dodge like the moves, to dodge like this shockwave here. You can plunge, you don't need Xian Yun or anything. And it doesn't have too much HP, honestly. Don't have too much HP. Oh, I don't have Favonius here on Rosaria, so my energy is not as good, Sag. Yeah, that's basically it for 12-2, honestly. Like, nothing too crazy. Just plunge to dodge the AoE of this boss. And then first half, make sure you position yourself a little bit better to be next to the enemies when they spawn. But with Sucrose or Venti or Kazuha, you'll be able to group them very easy. Now 12-1 is where 12-3 is where it gets a little bit more complicated, because the enemies have a weird pattern where it's really hard to group them. But I'll show you how to group them as consistently as possible. Basically, at the start, you go on the right a little bit. They're gonna move forward, and then you just wait a little bit longer, and then you start doing your stuff. Make sure you stay next in front of one. Make sure you stay in front of them and not in between them. Otherwise, they're gonna start moving away from each other, and you're not gonna be able to group them very well. And here, as you can see, it is pretty well grouped. The electrocharge is proccing very well, and make sure you stay here. Boom. And then here we got some good some good damage. Pretty good. I'll reveal thyself. And then same thing here, you just wait for them to come to you a little bit, and then you repeat the same thing. Ooh, I stayed in the middle here. Okay, that's good. still a little bit tricky to keep them like consistently grouped like non-stop. Oh, here I didn't see he was doing his attack. My bad. Gonna have electro res. Yeah, that's basically it for this side. You just you need to make sure you're able to like group them properly at the start. Otherwise, like literally, you will lose like a million seconds. Okay, here I played bad a little bit. I didn't see the monster was doing his super attack, so yeah. I mean, hey, if you clear this side in 1 minute 30, maybe even a little bit longer, it's fine because second half honestly is not too difficult. If you got Pyro and Cryo, or if you just got like, you can bring Risley, you can bring even Ganyu Freeze can work pretty okay on the second half. Ganyu Freeze works really good first half as well. So yeah, you got lots of options. And then here, the reason why you want Cryo is because the boss will infuse with Hydro on the boss, like on his body. And if you freeze the boss and then break the freeze, it will be stunned for a little bit. That's basically what you're trying to do. Rosaria and Kaya are very good for this. See here, boom, I freeze and I use Shengling to break the freeze, and perfect. And then perfect. And then you want to repeat that. I mean, you just repeat this infinite basically. Boom. And then Bennett. Then Shangling. And it's pretty chill. That is pretty chill. That's basically it for this Abyss, honestly. Like, need to make sure you don't get one shot by this boss, by the way, because this super attack at the end, the big slam, it deals cryo or hydro damage, but if you're in Bennett burst, you will have pyro on yourself, so it's gonna deal a ton of damage and most likely one shot you. You just gotta be careful of this. You can iframe with a burst or you dash at the right moment. But yeah, that's basically it for this Abyss. Like, nothing crazy, nothing too complicated. DPS check is really not that high, mainly because it's a lot of small enemies. The damage is spread out, like the HP pool is spread out across all the enemies, so it's not a boss rush or anything. So second half, the HP is not so high, except 12-3, it's a little bit high, but since you most likely will play a meld team or something like that, it's not going to be too difficult. So in terms of best teams for this Abyss, unfortunately, I'm not even going to put Mizuki in the best team for this Abyss, in my opinion. Like, it works. Like, you can do Mizuki, Bennett, Furina, and then either like another Nemo, or you just bring another like off-field character. You can do Mawika or something like that, or I don't know, or like Fischl or whatever. But overall, not a massive fan. You can do Shengling, actually. This is a pretty good team. But like, not a massive fan because like her gameplay is kind of awkward. If you don't, you really like having some grouping with Mizuki on top of it. So, but it's still a good team. You get the swirl damage buff on Mizuki and on Kazuha, so your Kazuha is going to deal pretty good damage as well. But not in my top 5 teams, honestly, for this rotation. 12-1, I mean 12 first half, floor 12 first half. In my opinion, the best teams are going to be Neuvillette. So Neuvillette team, my boy is back, chat. Last rotation, he wasn't really that great. Now he is cooking. Preferably with Kazuha. You can do with Venti, you can do with Sucrose. You want a Nemo character though for grouping as much as possible. Not mandatory actually, because Nuvi has pretty good AoE and pretty like it's easy to move his damage, so it's not that big of a problem. But yeah, Nuvi Furina, one Nemo grouper, and then Shilonen, Zhongli. You don't need a billion damage, honestly, so anything can really work. After that one, Taser team worked really good, honestly. Like, even the 4-star setup, I think, is in the top 5 teams, but you don't have to do a 4-star setup. Like, you can do with Raiden, Taser, or something like that, or just Fischl, Furina, or Fischl, like, Oron. And Oron and Furina, and then bring a grouper like Kazuha, and then you're pretty much gone. I mean, you're pretty much good. You can do Yae as well. Like, you got lots of options. I think Taser is also one of the best options first half. And then International is also really, really good. I mean, once again, if you bring any team with like Kazuo or Sucrose that work great with Kazuo or Sucrose, it's going to be insane. So International actually is back on the menu as well. International with Kazuo or with Sucrose, you can replace Child with a Yato. I think it's going to work very well too. This team is also insane. First half, you don't get a cryo charge attack bonus for like let's say you play Ganyu. You don't get the buff, but freeze is pretty nice because it's all AoE enemies. So if you bring Venti, Morgana team, or you bring Kazuha or something like that, and you freeze, it's gonna be pretty nice. The enemies are not gonna move. It's gonna be pretty easy. Same for 12-3 first half. Freezing those guys is pretty nice because they're kind of annoying pattern. So, oh, and last one as well in my top 4-5 teams is going to be Nilu Bloom. Nilu Bloom is going to obliterate this chamber, in this floor. So either Nilu Nahida with Kokumi Baiju if you have the full 5-star setup, or you can do Barbara Yao Yao. You can do Barbara Cole. Any Bloom setup. Kind of want Nahida, of course, but any Bloom setup with Nahida is going to be pretty nice with Nahida Niru. And yeah, since the enemies are like, since it's a lot of AoE and the enemies come to you and it's not really too hard to like group them, even if you don't have grouper, like it's still going to be very, very efficient. And also against these guys as well, if you do the grouping strategy that I showed you, it's going to be like insane. It's going to be really, really good. And then after that, after those 4 or 5 team setups, there's not really anything that is bad that doesn't work at all. Like almost anything can work. Like Mono Geo can work first half. Shao can work first half. Mawika works. Sino can work. Olekino can work. Utao can work. Like literally anything, honestly. Anything first half. Wanderer can work. I did some Wanderer clear. Yula can kind of work as well. Ayaka works. Like everything works first half, really. There's not really that many restrictions. Now for the second half, it's gonna be a bit trickier because you need cryo for the Swanee unless you have insane damage. You don't need cryo, but like it makes the run so much faster. So if you want to have a comfy run for second half, Risley is gonna be big. This blessing is made for. I mean, this Leyline Disorder is made for Risley. He's rerunning next banner, so this abyss is basically made for him. Risley with any setup. Bennett, Shengling, Emily. I really like this setup. Actually, also Emily has insane damage, but if you don't have Emily Nahida, you can do Kazuha, you can do Zhongli, you can do Shironen. You can do basically anything with the Risley team. You can do another cryo even, like Rosaria or whatever, but yeah, Risley is going to be the GOAT on the second half. Even with C0, I think he's going to perform extremely well. As I showed you, reverse meld Rosaria with Kaya or with an Anemo character, with Lanian, with Lynette, with like basically anything can work as well. Like this trio here is going to destroy that abyss. Of course, Rosaria doesn't benefit from the charge attack cryo damage bonus, but it doesn't really matter. Like the DPS check is not that high. But you want cryo preferably. Ayaka, Ganyu are gonna work as well on the second half. So any team like that. Yula is actually very, very nice. Except for 12-1 second half, I guess. Not the best. But against this guy and against the Swanee, Yula works pretty nice. So I'd say like you can still give it a try if you want to play your Yula. It still feels pretty good. Utao double Hydro with Silali or Rosaria also works very nice. So you can do Utao, Yelan, Xingqiu, and then if you have Silali or if you have Rosaria, it works pretty nice. Just having the cryo for the last chamber, and then 12-1, 12-2, it's gonna obliterate the bosses. And even if Yelan and Xingqiu have damage reduced against the boss, because this guy has a lot of Hydro res, it still deals pretty good damage. Hutao is going to evade pretty well, so this is going to be pretty nice. And then finally, last option that I would recommend for the second half is if you really don't have a lot of like options on your account, you can do Hyper Bloom with one cryo character. So I, for example, did Rosaria Rosaria Traveler, so Dendro Traveler with Cookie and Xingqiu. This team works pretty good, honestly. I did on my other account. Maybe I'll put the run in the video. I'm not sure, but yeah, I did it on my other account with that team, and it worked pretty well. So, yeah, if you have Nahida, it's gonna work very well as well. So yeah, something like that. Hyper Bloom with Cryo, just to have the Cryo here, and then for this and this, it's gonna be super good. And after that, like if you have a ton of damage, if you have a Raiden C2, if you have I don't know, if you have a Navi C2 R1 or whatever, like second half you can use like a lot of different stuff as well. It's gonna work pretty well. But Cryo just makes it much easier. And I think that's basically it for this Abyss, honestly. Like, pretty straightforward. One of the easiest Abyss we've had in a long time. Let me know if you're struggling. I will still be doing Viewers Abyss on stream. Make sure you join the Discord. Make sure you stop by the stream if you want some Abyss help, if you're struggling, if you're missing 1 or 2 stars. I hope this video was helpful. Let me know if you have any more questions. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.